Now I'm learning a lot of things to do now. Women all chase me around plays. I'm Lancashire Romeo. I'm learning to love and I'm getting flirty. I want to meet one of them dear good time dirties. I want to get rough and I'll do me stuff, 'cause I'm Lancashire Romeo. I'll mix with dancers, and I'll mix with romances, and I'll know all cancers too. I'm doing me
Good evening, and welcome to another exciting Twilight Zone. I was going to say show, Twilight type show. And we tonight, this is Monday, the 2nd of February, 2026. And tonight is a special because we're on FFT Radio, Food for Thought Radio. And that's all thanks to Paul English and Patrick. So thank you, fellas. And we're on FFT Radio. So that's amazing. And tonight, our guest is our envoy from Cornwall, all the way from Cornwall. And it is Maleficus Scott. Good evening, Maleficus.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you very much for coming on. And what is it like in the, shall we say, the, what would you call it, the Royal Principality of Cornwall, Thwackum area of Cornwall today? Is it Your Royal Highness, you know?
I would say, I would like to say it's absolutely spiffing. Unfortunately, the weather is absolutely atrocious, and I've spent most of the day freezing my tits off in the garden.
Oh, apart from that, well, actually, here it's been a fantastically blue sky, sunshine above the thick, shitty cloud. But mind you, I've got this drink that sends you blind in one eye. And here it is. You leave the spoon in. And you go, oh, you know. But tonight, the first one in chat is, wait for it, roll of drums. It is Arsburgers as Fudge. Hello, Arsburgers as Fudge. He is our cultural attaché, of course, because we do like people with cultured names. And remember, the first person in chat has a choice of a two-finger salute to any politician or celebrity of their choice. So it's up to you, Arsburgers as Fudge. And we've got Richard, what's this? Ricardo Blake TV. So hello there, guys and girls. Hello, Ricardo TV. Nice to meet you. Nice. Now, tonight, have you anything to report from apart from freezing your tits off in the garden? From Cornwall?
No, not really. Other than, we're on yet another weather warning after weather warning after weather warning. And what is it nowadays? You used to go and look at the TV, and they would give you the forecast. No storms had names, and you didn't have a color coding when it came to the weather. Right.
Yes, that's right. Oh, yes.
The weather was either just good or it was bad.
Yeah.
It was going to rain, or it was going to be sunny, or it's going to be windy, or, we might be suffering gale force winds. But at no point did we actually have to name these storms so that they became more memorable in the public mind. Oh, yes, you do remember the storm Gertrude, or you do remember the storm, fart face, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's done to so that we can pinpoint these things in our mind and remember how bad or good such and such a storm was.
That's right.
It's all just part of this sort of scaremongering nonsense that's continually, perpetually pushed on everyone.
I agree with you. And have you heard of the non-existent weather stations that that the Met Office are using? Seriously, they're actually picking on weather stations, and people have found out they don't exist. And, but tonight, our special two-finger salute goes to David Attenborough. And here we are, sitting here with Fred the plant behind us, and Jeremy the other side, Jeremy Irons. And so here goes to David Attenborough. Or to him because I don't like David Attenborough either. Is there anybody here that likes David Attenborough? So because he's about 100 now, isn't he? Or I don't know, 200 or something. I don't know. Have you seen him recently? They dug him up recently. You know, here he's under the ground where there's worms biting into me. You know, I mean those gorillas. He wasn't the first man to sit with gorillas. Did you know that? There was someone years before him called Johnny Morris. Seriously. And I saw it as a kid. He went into a gorilla cage and sat with a female gorilla who handed him her baby. And that is bloody dangerous because, you know, when anything has a child, it's very, shall we say, protected towards that child. And Johnny Morris sat in the gorilla cage next to the gorilla, and the gorilla mother gave Johnny Morris the baby to hold. I've never forgotten it. Does anybody remember that on the internet? You know. And oh, by the way, Soapbox has just joined us as well. Oh, we're back again. Something's funny's going on. You still here, Miss Thwakers? No, I think we've got a few technical hiccups, but everybody hear me in chat, so we should be all right. Now we've got here.
I have returned. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is it something we said, or is it?
No.
Yeah, but something's gone a bit wrong.
Your feed on YouTube was running, but for some reason I got kicked out of the studio, so I don't know why that would be.
That's strange, isn't it? And my feed here, I might have to go into a different feed. Can you just bear me whilst I go into another feed?
That's all right. No worries.
Everything in chat has actually freezed up for some unknown reason. I don't know why. Oh wait, I know it hasn't. No, it's freed itself, so we're all right. We'll carry on regardless.
So David Attenborough, the last thing I heard you say was, "Does anyone like David Attenborough?" I used to love him when I was a kid. I used to love watching the wildlife programs, and he had such a soothing voice, didn't he? But later,
that's right. Yes,
he had barely any qualifications in that department to his name, did he? He just had a nice voice for talking about.
Well, he always looked like as if he shouldn't have. Hang on a minute. Here we go. He shouldn't be. I'm just changing feeds. Won't be a moment. We're just going over to a different feed. That's it. We're still there. We're all there. I'm on a different feed now.
Okay. Well, I can still hear you, so that's all good.
Right, that's good. Yeah, I had to change feeds because something went wrong. When you were saying about David Attenborough, yes, he always spoke like this, didn't he? As if he's just found out that flatulence shouldn't be lumpy, and that's sort of a bit of a shock to the system, and yeah, that type of thing. But now, Alice Gorgeous, I 100 David Bellamy. Every time for me. I agree. He spoke like this. I think he had irritable bowel syndrome, didn't he? David Bellamy. So I rolled his rolls round his mouth like this and spat the words out all over the place, you know.
See, the thing is, I really like, I have to say, David Bellamy used to irritate me, but I have to say that he actually blew the lid off of the climate scam years and years ago, and he even attempted to run for office, didn't he?
That's
for
right.
Parliament. So although he was irritating to me as a kid, you know, all this growth and all that kind of thing.
All the weeds and roads, filth going up.
I have to say, he went seriously up in my books when I realised that, you know, he'd actually run. Was it John Major or someone like that? He tried to sort of campaign against or whatever. But it was this because he was totally clued up on the whole climate scam. So hat off to David Bellamy.
And Cynthia Payne, the prostitute who put up, was it the Pain and Pleasure Party? You remember that? and she was a prostitute. They ran. She used to run parties for MPs and people like that, and they made a film about it. Anybody remember Cynthia Payne? You know.
I don't. I'm afraid. But then,
Mm.
yeah.
Now somebody said audio's not right, Eric. Is anybody else experiencing this? I might have to go through yet another feed. So, is anybody can hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Maleficus?
I can hear you fine. No problem since I've jumped back in.
Yes. Oh, well, I think. Sorry, mate. Thanks, Nuki, for mentioning that. See if anybody else, because it might be your sound. I don't know. I'm not pointing pointing guilty fingers at people. Now, DJ B2 said Attenborough was also wants to reduce the human population like Joan Goodall did before she popped her clogs. Yes, I agree. And
Well, at least Joan Goodall stuck to her word.
well, she did, didn't she? That's right. Yes, she did. She did snuff it in the end. And Embryo, oh, thanks a million, mate. That's very kind. MVO, audio sounds fine. Yeah, I was going to put your message up on the screen, mate, and I've lost it. Sorry about that. And Nuki Brown says there's a delay here. Yeah, there will be a delay if you're on YouTube and Rumble at the same time, or Soapbox at the same time, or FT. I think we might have dropped out of FFT radio. They might be having a bit of technical problems there. So, if, Food for Thought Radio, if anybody's listening on there, hello, good evening, But anyway, thank you, everybody. Glad let's carry on regardless, as they say. Now, Maleficus, we was talking about something that was carrying on from last night, where I want to bring back the Edwardian and Victorian gentlemanly, polite discussion. By the way, before we go any further, Embryo is our that's our Minister of Transport, Embryo. Here you go. Attenborough is part of, thanks, mate, part of the world, their world. He is the one who keeps promoting climate change, which we know is a hoax. I agree. Yes. If the climate didn't change, I'll get bloody worried about it, I think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a gardener by trade. That's what I do. And
Yes.
I spend most of my life working with nature. The main reason being, honestly, if I'm really honest, is that I don't have a boss other than nature.
And that is lovely. And we need to team you up with Chris the gardener, and because we've got Chris the gardener as well. And you know something, I went freelance because I didn't want a boss over my head. But unfortunately, when you're freelance, you still have a boss over your head. When you're in, shall we say, well, I was in architecture, so you still have a boss over your head, sort of. I mean, you can always stick your two fingers up and walk out and go somewhere else. But the trouble is, you've always got to be polite to people, because when you're going up, you meet the same people going down. But no, it's not. I can't stand having anybody telling me what to do. I guess you're a bit of a loner with working, are you, Maleficus?
You are breaking up for me. If you can hear me, you are breaking up for me. I'm going to try reloading the studio, good sir.
Okay, righto. There's something strange going on here. Now we got here Lenny. Here we go. Lenny Henry took the P out of David Bellamy. The Frenchie got rid of him. Lenny, that is. Yes. Yeah, I can't stand Lenny Henry, quite honestly. Some people say he's a comedian. There is a conspiracy theory that reckons he is, but I don't find him that funny. Cornish lodger is not bad stuff. You there, Maleficus?
I'm back. Yes. I don't know.
Am I okay? It might be a bad connection somewhere. I'll have a look at. I'm getting pretty good signal on my Wi-Fi, so I don't know quite what's going on. But we'll carry on regardless. Yeah. Yes.
Korev Cornish lager. Yeah, it is not bad stuff. That's brewed quite near to me, actually. Mind you, anywhere in Cornwall's quite near to me, because Cornwall's tiny.
And that's right. Yes. And hang on, we got. I've got FFT radio running as well. So here we go. So we're on FFT radio as well. So I'm pleased to hear that. Now, the thing is, I would have thought that being in Cornwall, your springtime starts a little bit earlier than ours further north.
We're fairly moderate here all year round, to be fair,
Yeah.
because we're surrounded by the ocean. So obviously we do get cold weather. We never get snow. I wish we got snow, but we never do. So
Yeah. Well, there's people. I actually watch YouTube, and there's people that live out in the wild, live in tents all the year round, and they said they go west. They go to Cornwall or that area in the winter. They always camp in forests, never in fields, because it's warmer in forests than it is in fields.
of course it is. Yeah. And obviously you
Yeah.
don't get the wind chill that you would get if you
That's
were
right.
in an open field. Yeah.
But Hadji says, check out Rick Mayall's last movie. That's right. Yes. Did he die or was he pushed? Yes.
I always enjoyed Adrian Edmondson's public statement when he found out that Rick Mayall had died.
Hmm.
Do you remember that one?
Yes. I see. Yes.
I believe his words were "selfish bastard."
Really? Well, I think I'm not sure if it is actually on Spike Milligan's grave, but Spike Milligan said he wanted on his grave, was it, "I told you I was ill."
I told you I was ill. Yeah.
My hero. And now we got
he was an absolute corker, wasn't he? Yeah. Have you read many of his books?
Yes, I've got a lot of his books. And
so Monty, his part in My Victory is an absolute fantastic book.
And Adolf Hitler, My Part in His Downfall.
Yeah, that's right. But there's and look, I'm just quoting from the book here, so I don't want anyone to get overly offended. But there's there's a photograph of his father in the middle of the
I think I know what you're going to say, yeah.
And he says, "Dad before breakfast shooting a couple of wogs."
What? Because he was brought up in India, wasn't he?
He was, that's right.
Yes.
And of course, wog just simply meant worker on government service.
Correct. Yeah. And that is something that's been corrupted. And it came from Egypt, believe it or not. What they did, the Egyptians made dolls, and they found that black material was cheapest. So they pushed them out very cheaply, and soldiers brought them back for their women and their wives and children, and they had on their shoulder WOGS, and that's where it came from. There's nothing rude. There's lots of these things people attribute to race and things like. It's nothing to do with race.
Well, look, let's put it this way, right? So, obviously, Enid Blyton famously wrote the 3 Gollywogs books.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No. And my mum. So my mum, she's going to be 80 this year. She remembers at the home, at her home in Devon, they used to have this big gollywog that would sit in the chair in the corner of the drawing room, and everyone loved the golly. They absolutely loved the golly.
Well, look at Robinson's Jam. That was their logo.
I think part of that was sort of helping endear people. Also, during the times that those books got famous and afterwards, it wasn't till, after the Windrush and all that kind of thing that people started frowning upon these books.
People shouldn't be so touchy, because if you're good mates with someone of any colour and all that, you can say what you believe and like, because it's friendly. It's nothing harmful. You're not going to harm anybody. I mean, I was talking the I think it's last night, about an office I worked in, where when Hello was on television, I worked with a German and an Israeli bloke.
So,
and we all
Robinson's Jam. Of course, you used to collect the the tokens, didn't you?
That's right.
Get the little brooches and everything.
It was in Kent, wasn't it? Because we used to go past their factory, and they had a huge big golly on the factory.
Yeah.
Anyway, you went and seen my aunt and uncle who lived in Green Street Green, Farnborough in Kent, near Biggin Hill.
Wow. Near Biggin Hill? Yeah, that's a famous place now, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And they moved out of London at the beginning of the war to actually get away from the bombing. They moved near Biggin Hill, which was one of the most highly bombed airfields ever.
They moved to Hell's Corner.
Yeah.
They moved to Hell's Corner.
Yeah.
Well done them.
My cousin said that when he was a schoolboy at the time, he came out of the house one morning, and they had a typical English house with roses around the door, beautiful garden, neatly laid lawns. Oh, it's fantastic. My childhood memories of that place is really great. And he
Wow.
said he came out of the door one morning, and he saw at literally treetop level, first of all, Messerschmitt just went straight past the house with a Spitfire after it.
Wow. Yeah.
And then there was a boom later on. He obviously got him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of work for obviously old people because old people can't look after their gardens and they'd like them looked after. So, and there was one lady that we did some work for last year. She remembers being dive bombed by a Stuka, or dived upon. Her and her friends were out playing in the field, and there was a military sentry post at the top of the hill. And they heard this plane come screaming in, and they panicked and they ran down the field, she says. And the guard was shouting something at them. And there was a guard at the bottom of the lane that they were running down, and he was shouting at them, lie down, lie on the floor. And they all dived to the floor, and they scuffed up their arms and their knees and their hands and stuff. And she remembers the bullets rattling off the tin roof of the barn next to her. And she said, to this day, she said, I have to go and hide when there's a thunderstorm on. She's 90, she'll be 94 this year. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think both my parents suffered from shell shock, because my dad was in the full 6 years of the war.
Yeah.
And my mum, she was walking to work one morning, and the sound near the air, I think the air raid sirens went, because did you know that the workers had to carry on working through an air raid?
That's right.
Cover it was only the bosses. And suddenly a chap dragged her into a sort of a side, into a doorway, and suddenly all the bullets were going as German fighters came down machine gunning.
Yeah.
And bullets were going ching, 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 ching everywhere. And what she did have, though, I think, which shocked her, was I'm not sure if it's lunchtime, she's coming home, and she saw a doodlebug coming across, and she said, people used to pray, please keep the engine on, please keep the engine. And suddenly it stopped, and there's this terrifying silence.
Yeah, before it went boom.
And it's engine cut out right over her house where she lived, in front of where she was walking to. And there was this massive explosion, and she thought, that's it, my parents, they're gone. And she was crying, and she's running along, and she got to her home, and I think the door had been blown in and the glass had all been blown in, and it actually landed over the road, and her parents were okay. And there's glass everywhere, and it just sort of, the blast and everything. But she said that what they used to do is, down the air raid shelters, they used to count the bombs coming towards them, because they had sticks of 6. I think it's Heinkel's had sticks of 6.
That's right.
And she said they used to go 1, yeah, there's boom, come next, boom, and it come louder, 2, 3, boom, and it screams, 5, 4, boom, and it go the other side of you. Because if you got a direct hit straight down, even though you're in an air raid shelter, that was it, you'd be dead.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, try telling that story to the Germans. I mean, crikey, it didn't matter about being in an air raid shelter. You know, if you were in Germany, they were incredibly well fortified. But yeah, I got sent. Are you able to present stuff on this feed?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So I can do it now.
I'm going to send you a link. Now, look, this may not be. I'm going to explain it first. It's not necessarily pleasant viewing.
Okay.
But there's nothing gory. But if you remember all the sort of the firebombing and everything that took place, there were some shelters they opened up after hours of firebombing had taken place, and the occupants of the air raid shelter had been literally rendered to a liquid consistency, and they would go in the morning and literally just find a layer of fat. So I was talking about this with my German friend a little while back, and he sent me. So I'm going to put it in the chat links as well, so people can look at their own.
Please do. And I think it probably is unsuitable for children. Probably
it's
and people have a nervous disposition.
People of a nervous disposition, definitely. I mean, I got to be honest, because I've done so much study on this. I actually, when I saw this, and because I knew exactly what I was looking at, I worked in cremation for 6 years.
Yes.
I did. It made me well up a bit, actually, I must admit.
I can understand because to me they were brothers' wars.
They were.
There was no, they weren't. And
they were indeed.
My father, he had untreated shell shock, and I love my dad. He was my best friend, so I'm not criticizing him. He had terrible shell shock, so I heard things I shouldn't have heard when I was very, very young, which did affect me. But I'm a bit like an old diesel engine. I can actually repeat what he told me almost word for word because I heard it so many times. So that's why I can go on and on about World War II. Almost, I mean, I wasn't there because I wasn't born then, but because I heard it so many times. But I'll see if I can actually bring that in. Now let's have a look.
So I've sent it to you via email just in case as well, but it's there in the chat feed, and I've put it just before they come across all the carbonized bodies of.
I'm going to have to try and cut and paste it. I'm not quite sure how I can. Let's see if I can copy this. Can I copy this? No, I'm not sure. Is it possible for you to send that to me via Telegram?
It's not. I don't do any social media, I'm afraid.
Right.
I have emailed it to you, though.
Aha. We'll try that. Okay. We'll try the email. So please talk amongst yourselves whilst I'm looking at the email, please.
So basically, as I say, there's nothing really hideous to see in this, only if you really know what you're looking for. But it gets to a certain point where this is one of the bunkers that is actually quite near where my friend lives in Germany. And there's a bunch of lads. Obviously, if you've got the YouTube link there, you'll know which channel it's on. So hat off to those guys for going exploring these things. But what you're actually looking at is...
Right, okay. I'm going to try and link that through. If we haven't got... we've got poxy adverts on here. I'll leave the sound... Would it be okay to leave the sound off? Because it'd be
off, yes. It's all in German anyway.
Yes. And also I might get a copyright strike, and I won't get it if I leave the sound off, I don't think. So I should be okay. Now I've got to see what I'm doing here. I've got the... You must excuse me, I've got to use my brain. I haven't used it for a long time. It's sort of,
Oh, Eric, quick, it's spilling out one ear. It's spilling out one ear. Just push your headphones on a bit more.
Okay. Right, let's have a look, see what we got here. Das Bunker. There we go. I think we might have that in the studio.
Yeah, that is. We can see that.
Right. Oh, and it's a bloody advert, so let's get that going all the time. And then we'll skip that advert, and then we should be in there now.
So if you go to 3 minutes in, Eric.
Okay, we go three. I'll just click that over to 3 minutes. That'll be about... I'll go through just before. Here we go. I'm in 3 minutes now, and he's going in like a bunker sort of place.
This is a bunker, and what you're actually looking at here... They're all in there investigating. They weren't supposed to be in there, I believe. But what you're actually about to see is the carbonized remains of men, women, and children. And as I say,
if you're a nervous disposition or there's children washing, please, we do give a warning on this. It's not suitable for children and people of a nervous disposition. Okay. Sorry, Amelia, because I didn't need to cut across you. Didn't want to cut across.
That's all right. No problem. So, and you will see when they get closer to the remains there, you will see there are skulls, large and small. It's quite horrific viewing, really, when you actually understand.
Genocide.
Absolutely. Look at it. I mean, it is. That's not someone that's taken stuff down there to have a fire. That's stuff that is there and has been there since the end of, probably 1943 or 1944.
Is it Berlin or somewhere, or is it somewhere?
It's near Duisburg. It's near Duisburg, which is the Essen area. Obviously, Essen was Rhineland, incredibly.
Oh, Essen, yes.
incredibly industrialized area. And, you know,
Well,
as I say, when I first saw all that, because as I say, I worked in cremation.
mhm. Oh, by the Sam Gururi says, sorry, what is this footage where? It's in Germany. It's near, was it Essen?
It's near Essen. It's in
Essen,
Duisburg.
yeah. Duisburg, yeah.
As far as I'm aware, it's in Duisburg, but you can
There's a
clearly
skull
see,
there.
yeah,
Oh,
you can
well,
clearly see large
bless
and
them.
small skulls, and
Bless them, poor souls. I really.
you're looking at the remains of people that were rendered
Mm.
to absolute liquid form and then burnt because the heat was
Horrendous.
so intense down there. So all that
Innocent
stuff did happen.
civilians. Innocent
Absolutely, all
civilians.
of them innocent civilians, and
Mm.
there's a lot of comments under the video saying, "Oh, this is fake," and blah 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 blah.
They always say that.
I mean, you
don't
don't need to play anymore. I guess we've put the picture across, but I guess war crimes only happened, by the enemy, didn't they?
Oh, yes. They're only
But
committed by the
there
enemy.
is genuine
Mm.
footage of the insides of a German bunker, and
Well,
that carbon that you're looking on the floor is people. It's women and children,
mm,
and old men.
mm.
Because all the young men were out fighting, obviously, or most of them.
Well,
So
what we don't hear is people, brave men that risked their lives to save enemy wounded. And that happened a lot.
yeah,
And my father witnessed it several times. On both sides, and two stretcher bearers that wandered into his lines soon after quite a time after D-Day. And because my father being in frontline intelligence, they were all usually surrounded because they were right in the front. And if they was to
Yeah.
be captured, they had to quickly take off their shoulder flap things and they said change paybooks over with a dead corpse or anything like, because if they found out your intelligence, you'd be taken away for special
treatment.
treatment to find out because you knew more than what the average person knew. My dad was low rank, so he wouldn't have had the Gestapo or anything like that because he was the lowest rank. So they wouldn't have known. They would have realised they wouldn't have known that much. But the thing is that these two German stretcher bearers, they risked their lives under phenomenal bombardment to bring back wounded, German and English, to the lines because our stretcher bearers have been killed. And they had to be ordered to stop in the end because it was against the Geneva Convention, which both sides stuck to rigidly.
Yeah.
And when those men were taken away as prisoners, almost everyone was choked. They were almost in tears. And before my father died, we sent a little request on Classic FM for them. And Classic FM was so touched they completely ignored us.
Yeah, didn't
and
they?
We also sent out some stuff to German newspapers to try and locate to see whether they're still alive, and it was never printed. I got interviewed by a journalist, but they said it was never printed. So isn't that shattered?
Yeah.
So you see monuments to, excuse my language, arseholes like Churchill, but you don't see monuments to really brave people like those two German stretcher bearers who saved countless lives.
Well, it's like the story of Desmond Doss, isn't it? I mean, he
Shelley Tasker, was it Hacksaw Ridge?
Hacksaw Ridge, yeah, indeed, Hacksaw Ridge. Well done, Shelley. Yeah, Desmond Doss refused to carry a rifle, and say it was a Mel Gibson film. Interestingly, in that film, actually, when they're just marching to their positions, one of the guys in the platoon is singing the song "We're Gonna Have to Slap the Dirty Little Jap," which was an American propaganda song at the time, and all the boys in the regiment are telling him to shut up. And everyone's a bloody comedian, aren't they? Because they realise that they've been duped into going there.
That's right, and that's right. And have you seen that actual film? I can't sort it out now. It was on YouTube. I think it's been taken down. Where it showed the Americans shooting up a civilian ship of Japanese. So they sunk a ship, and there's Japanese in lifeboats, civilians, men, women, and children, being shot at.
Yeah. Well, I mean that was standard practice. If anyone here is familiar with Hellstorm, the book, I can't remember his name now. Shelley, what was his name? He also wrote Scalp Dance, which we covered.
Oh,
Thomas Goodrich.
Thomas Goodrich.
So,
And would Shelley like to come on tonight? Because I'll send her a studio link if she would like to come on as well. It's entirely up, if you'd like Shelley to come on.
well, she's more than welcome. I expect
Yes.
you'll be messing with her relax time. She's probably sitting back.
Okay. Well, Shelley has to say,
I'm going to get called a radio tart when I go back on Shelley's show on Wednesday.
Well, yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
And so if anyone's familiar
Thomas
with
Goodrich, that's right.
Thomas Goodrich, also
Dance.
the likes of David Irving. If you've read any of their books, you will know that it was standard practice to shoot at civilians running for cover. And look, let's remember they timed all the bombing runs. The British at nighttime, they timed all the bombing runs. They left gaps just enough for the emergency services to be all consumed, putting out the fires.
That's right.
Yeah, and they'd come in from all other districts across Germany, and they'd leave them enough time to get there, and then they'd send the next run in to to then kill all the blooming rescue workers as well. We weren't a pleasant bunch back in those days.
But both sides. Let's put it this way: wars bring out the psychopaths, and it's a psychopath's playground. And it doesn't matter who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. It's the psychopath bastards that are going to commit the atrocities, and that's as simple as that.
But I guess you can't really say that for the bomber crews. No,
I agree with you there.
I always remember there was what was his name? Jeff Wellham. So Jeff the Boy Wellham, he was 18 years old when he flew Spitfires, and I always remember an interview with him where once a year all the RAF boys would get together, and he said, I had so much respect for those bomber guys. He said because they'd have to fly over Germany and to drop their bombs where they were told to drop them. They would have to fly straight and level, against the might of the German Luftwaffe. And it was 50-50. The bomber command was 50-50 whether you survived or not. He said, and Jeff Wellham said, put me in a Spitfire any day. At least I could get up there and throw it around and try and get out of trouble.
I agree with you.
Bomber guys didn't have that that opportunity.
They're a sitting duck, really. They're a sitting target.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the bomber lads actually. I know my friend Tom, his grandfather was on the Dresden run, and he took it to his grave. It just upset him so much.
Well, I worked with a chap that was on the Dresden raid. He was a Pole that was over. He's in the Polish RAF, branch of the RAF.
Right.
I'm not sure what wave he was on, but I never forget him talking about it. I think he was quite moved when he told me, and he said he saw trees and cars rolling over because of the huge flames. And they had to. What they did, they flew as high as they could, and the wings used to bend on the aircraft with the load. And he said, how they didn't drop bombs on other aircraft was a miracle. But he says, and you could see the flames from, I think it was 20 miles away, because he was a navigator.
Yeah.
Because architects and engineers went into navigation because it's very closely linked. And he said that. He felt the bottom of the plane. They were at 15,000 feet. And he went, ow! It was warm from the flames. At 15,000 feet. And he said he could see these trees. And he said the storm, the winds was incredible.
Yeah, hurricane force winds. Because obviously you burn up that much. A fire requires oxygen, and it will draw it from wherever it can. So
that's right. It's inhuman. Everything is inhuman, but what gets on my nerves, and I won't go into a certain area for obvious reasons, is you've always, after the war, you've got the vultures. And the vultures are the ones that pick over the bones and make money, who weren't there, and make money out of it.
Oh,
and
there's always those.
I called the vultures.
It's a bit like Waterloo teeth, isn't it, Eric?
Yes. That's right. There's always some soul somewhere that's going to make money out of it, and also, shall we say, makes it bad for the genuine people that were there. I mean, my dad was amongst the first wave on Gold Beach jig section on D-Day, and people used to argue with him and tell him what the war was like, even though they weren't in it, and he was actually there. And he used to say, "I was there, yes, yeah." Like General Montgomery was hated,
Yes.
absolutely hated. And when
Well,
he
he
said
was-
that, he was loved because people believed the Sefton Delmer propaganda are not the truth, and they still believe the Sefton Delmer propaganda are not the truth. And
Yeah,
that's
well,
it.
it's the old phrase, isn't it? It's easier to fool someone than it is to tell them that they've already been fooled. Is that how
Correct.
it goes? Yeah.
That's it. But it's quite a. I don't know what's this to do with thwackers, but I think it can be thwackers. But because anybody that doesn't know what a thwacker is, a thwacker was a piece of cardboard that is folded over that was given away free in the Beano, and I think the Dandy, when you went thwack like that and drove everybody bleeding mad with it when you was a kid, you see, and you'd creep up behind people and go thwack like that, and if I could little pleasures that little bastards used to have years ago when we were children, these nice things. But going back to war, I think it is a psychopath's playground, because isn't it amazing how you can get a group of people to hate another group of people and dehumanize them? And there's nothing about sort of, shall I say, discrimination or race then. It's perfectly okay to dehumanize that other group of people. I mean, it's
course
still
it is.
perfectly okay to dehumanize Germans. I mean, if I said, I went to the middle of London and said, I think Germans were evil and they killed people, police would just go. But if you mentions something a little bit different somewhere else, like, I don't know, Belgians or people from the Canvey Island or so, you'd be arrested. Isn't that a weird thing that we have? And I do believe that the powers that be stir up trouble between races, between people.
Oh,
Because whilst we're fighting each other, we're not seeing what those little bastards are doing, are we? And
Well,
that's it.
I think there's a chap who does a radio show out of America, a guy called Blackbird 9. He comes on Paul's show every so often, every 6 or 8 weeks. And he's got this lovely phrase, which I love. And the phrase is, let's you and them fight.
That's a very good one. Let you
Yeah.
and them fight. Yeah.
Let's
that's a
you
brilliant.
and them fight, i.e., I'm involved in this, but you and him are going to fight. All right.
Yeah.
Let you and them fight. You know.
Well,
I
Keir
just think
Starmer, that's right.
Yeah.
Here's your 10 helmet, mate. Here's all your battle stuff. Here's your gun. Now piss off. Go and fight.
Yeah.
Go and fight Russia on your own. Okay, now sod off. Leave us alone. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, what you were saying about shooting up the enemy. Now, I think between Germany and Britain, it was a little bit more civilized, but between the Japanese, it was less civilized. And I went to school when we had history at school. I think it was actually deliberately boring. I mean, I'd say history lessons at my school is slightly more interesting watching wood warp. And we had this man, Mr. Gasson. I'll never forget him. And he'd write stuff on the blackboard, sit there marking books, and we had to copy down what was on the blackboard. Queen do flop in 1033. I don't know, did this, said that. No. Because I've always liked modern history, you see. And he went on holiday for 2 weeks, and a temporary teacher came in. And this temporary teacher was one of the best teachers I think we've ever had. He was used to talking in universities, I think. And he was the first teacher. I mean, teachers used to stand at the front. Okay, be silent, do this, write things on blackboards. But this fella said, exercise books, you don't want them. You need notebooks, take notes. And we were forbidden to copy off the bloke next to you when I was at school. You got slapped if you copied your mate. And he said, if you did miss something, he said, ask your mate, copy off your mate. He said, you sit here and you take notes. He said, you don't copy stuff down. He looked at what was on the blackboard, I forgot it. And he just went, oh, we don't want that. And he just rubbed it all off. I went, sir, we got this. Don't worry, leave it with me. And he said, right, I don't know anything about ancient history, old history. He said, but modern history, because I lived it. And he walked round talking, lecturing. And when that bell rang, normally the kids were like greyhounds piling out the door. When the bell rang, we were all sitting there because he was so interesting. And it was a mixed school. And she said, I don't set homework. He said, I don't set homework at all. And he said, I want to know whether in the First World War aircraft could reach here. And to the girls, he said, I want to know, ask your grandmothers. Yeah, I'm that old. Ask your grandmothers how they survived in the First World War. What clothing they had, how they had to, and I'm not kidding you, the next next time we had a history lesson with him, he was almost mobbed with all the information. Oh, look, there's a aeroplane. That's how you should do. That is education. But anyway, while I was getting to the point, I was going to say he was there for 2 weeks and we was almost in tears when he went.
Yeah.
And he was in the RAF in Burma during the war, and they were attached to the USAF. Or sorry, no, it wasn't the USAF then. It wasn't. It was the American Army Air Force.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. It really annoys me because I can't remember exactly what he said, but I knew the theme of what he's saying. And what he was really saying when he asked it, he said, "Don't believe." What didn't sound like this, don't believe everything you're told from official view.
Yeah. Don't believe the victor's version.
And he won't go far wrong. And he said he was on ground crew. He used to repair aircraft. And he said they ran out of targets in 1945. And he said they were told, and I think it was the American pilots, to shoot at anything that moves. Doesn't matter if it's Red Cross, children, school, hospital, anything, and terrorize the civilians in Japan, the populace. Yeah. And he said they did that. You won't read that in the history books. That's true because I witnessed it. Okay.
So it's interesting you say that he was stationed over there because my great uncle Christopher was stationed. He was station commander in Kuala Lumpur. And I'm sure he must have been SOE, Special Operations Executive.
Oh yes.
Because his I've got a photograph of him on my wall right here, right next to me. It's taken at the beginning of World War II, and he's there with his volunteer reserve because all the VR guys were very proud of the fact that they were volunteer reserve, weren't they?
Yes.
Well, I know for a fact he was station commander in Kuala Lumpur in 1946.
Oh.
But if you try and look up his military career ended in 1939.
That's weird. Yes, SOE, yes.
For all the digging I have done, I cannot find a single thing. So
it's a bit like Churchill in Cuba in 1909, isn't it? That's a mystery as well. There's a picture of him in Cuba. What's he doing there?
Yeah.
And because I knew the late great Thomas Newman. Sorry, not Thomas Newman. What's his name? I know his surname is Newman anyway. He because he did the Mozart myth, and he found out that Mozart was a complete and utter myth, and he had all the evidence for it.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yes, and if people like to go on to FockhamHallRadio.com and look in the radio archive, you'll see Robert Newman. That's the name. You'll see, not Thomas Newman. I'm getting muddled up. You'll see me and Robert Newman. We did 2 shows. Radio shows.
Now, I'd be very interested in that. Because obviously in the mid-'80s, the film came out, Amadeus, didn't it?
That's right, Amadeus.
And it talks about the fact that he was a child genius, a child musical genius.
He was average.
He died a pauper, didn't he? He died a pauper's death.
Well, sort of. He was a Freemason, apparently.
Yeah.
But if I can remember it well, because I'm going, it must have been a good 15 years ago I did this. Because I got Thomas on the bloody brain. No, it's Robert Newman. He actually, I think he could speak German because he went through all the archives and he showed some music where his name had been put over the name of somebody else. And if you look at it under, I think, infrared, you can actually see there's somebody's name underneath. And he said, you listen to Mozart's music, it's very, very different. I mean, you listen to Wagner, it's very similar.
Yeah.
All the way through. You listen to Bach, it's similar. And loads of other composers, because their brain works in a certain way. But Mozart, no. And he said it's because he actually got other composers and it was all right. And the reason why is because I mean, I was mentioning this last night, and that is the Austro-Hungarian Empire was getting defeat after defeat after defeat, and similar to the American moon landings, where they had to make America great by faking a moon landing, they faked Mozart to make Vienna the world place for music, as if he was some
That's
fantastic
very
thing,
interesting.
and it was to boost the empire. To say, look, we've got this genius. Aren't we marvelous? We do all this fantastic
It would
music.
be the
It's
first
bullshit.
time music, or the last time music, has been
Mm.
used to manipulate public opinion.
That's right. Well, you think we were going down in hill, and what did we get? The Spice Girls. No, I'm only joking there. But
No, look, they've got their
yeah.
place. They've got their place. It's so that you know what
Yes.
good music is.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Yes, but the thing is, and Mike Mantis, very good. He said very big napalm and mustard gas bombs. Yes, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They didn't use nuclear bombs apparently, and I can say that because it's been looked into scientifically. They've taken soil samples. There's a German teacher that's looked into it, and apparently they had it was a massive conventional explosives with mustard gas, which they said was radiation sickness. It wasn't. It was from the mustard gas, and those severe burns were from a conventional weapon. There's no, and you think Nagasaki and Hiroshima now, as people live there, no radiation.
Well, here's the thing. So I've been stumbled across, or I haven't stumbled across. It was put in front of me by one of the listeners who's been emailing me since I was on with Andy Hitchcock years ago. I get sort of a monthly email from him with all the stuff that he's been looking into over the last month.
Yes,
and it's
yes.
very, very interesting. One of the things I stumbled across, and I can put the link up in the chat for people as well. I'll get that ready. Hang on a sec. So one of the things I stumbled across, or was put in front of me, was a guy called Galen Windsor. Have you heard of him?
The name rings a bell.
So
please carry on. It'll probably the penny might drop any moment.
So he did a talk. I think he did the talk for a couple of years. And they all finished in 1986. There's probably a good reason for that. But he did a talk on the nuclear scam. He was.
That's right.
He was. Yeah. So he was. He was essentially a radio operator in the Pacific when those two bombs went off. And when he went home, he studied and studied and studied, because the one thing he wanted to find out about is how those big firecrackers worked. And he ended up spending most of his life working in the nuclear industry. And he said, when we were first separating plutonium, or creating plutonium, when we were separating uranium and everything, he said, we were doing it by hand. Now, this guy lived till he was 82. So I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what even if he died of some dreadful cancer. There's kids of 4 now dying of cancer. So even if he died of some dreadful cancer, he spent his entire life working with radioactive materials, and in actual fact, pours uranium ore out in his hand during the talk.
That's the fella that John Hamer mentioned him. I'm sure he did.
Yeah, so I'm going to put the link in the chat for everyone. So
that's brilliant. Thanks, mate.
There's that one there, and are we on YouTube as well? Yeah, there we go. So.
And one of my Hachi said one of my school teachers was an ex-Japanese prisoner of war survivor, and the Japanese treated their prisoners horrendously. But they
my great uncle Eric was a prisoner. He was in Burma. He was a Chindit, and he was the most racist. Yes, he was the most racist fellow I ever came across when I was a kid. And he vehemently hated the Japanese, but of course he was a prisoner of war.
But you can understand that in a way.
Absolutely.
You can understand that because, but then you hear other stories. There was a chap that escaped from a Japanese camp, which was very difficult in the jungles, and he was swept down a river and he almost drowned. And it was a Japanese senior officer that saved his life, dragged him out. And this Japanese senior officer had studied in London and could speak English. What he did, he took him back to the camp and covered for him, and he never got punished. So there are, you see this is the things, but the Chindits, yes, I have heard about the Chindits. I worked with a fellow whose father was in the Chindits, And what happened is his father was taking cover, and I think there's 5 of them. He was in the middle. Too many either side of him got killed, and he didn't. The bullets missed him. And
Wow.
he said he had nightmares about it, you know. But I mean, certain things, my dad had flashbacks and things, and I just thought it was normal. You know, I just thought it was a sort of a normal thing. But when you think something goes on, say people are involved in an incident, say in London or wherever, and they say they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. My dad used to say that happened for 6 years, all the time. You got away with it one time, you think, well, I got away with it next. And he said when he got off, what happened on the landing crafts when they went on D-Day, they grounded early because what the Germans had done, they'd put ramps up and deep trenches. And what happened is the engines were going forward, and sometimes as the landing craft lightened, the men that came off first, the landing craft would go over them and drown them.
Wow.
Or now that didn't happen on my dad's landing craft, but he said as they're coming in, there's bullets bouncing off, and they were adjacent to where the film Saving Private Ryan is depicted. And the Americans gave the game away and went in half an hour beforehand. So the Germans were waiting for the 50th Northumbrian Division, 231 Brigade that my father was in. My father was actually in the Devons, which was part of the Northumbrian Brigade. But in the 231, which is the frontline intelligence, which is very different to other intelligence. And no, we haven't got a special heritage or anything like that. They would take anybody that was a bit intelligent because it had one of the highest casualty rates, because they were always going behind front lines. Yeah. Many of them could speak German. And what happened is my dad said that when they got off this landing craft, they had to hold a bike, him and his mate, and they went straight into deep water, straight under the water.
Yeah. And
they didn't throw their equipment off, and they almost worked sort of cyclically together. If that sounds good, cyclically, and they go to cycle with them. And when they got...
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
Yes. When they got ashore, when we showed him Saving Private Ryan film, we had to turn it off. He said, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And he said, whoever advised Spielberg wasn't there. And... And the thing is,
there's a few Spielberg films where you think, yeah, well, that's a bit off. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go there.
It's a bit, you know, a bit like, as my dad used to say, sewage from China, far-fetched. And but he said that, I mean, my uncle, he wasn't my uncle at the time. He was, you know, he went in. I'm not sure if he's on the same landing craft as my dad. And he was in an area because they're on the foreline, and there were the bombardment. It wasn't just machine guns; there was being absolutely bombarded. And he said, "You were deaf. It actually made you deaf. Your ears were ringing with the noise."
Yes, yeah.
And he said, "You weren't sort of slightly mad. People would go. You would go. You had to be slightly mad." And he said, and my uncle said, "There's a chap that kept touching his shoulder all the time. He's like, you know, it's like this." And then eventually, when he looked round, it was someone that was in one of these floating tanks that had been blown out of it, and his body was all blown up like this, and he was just floating on this sort of damp area where my uncle was, and just kept touching my uncle's shoulder, and he had to stay in this like trench position with his corpse next to him for a long time. And the way they got off, they were pinned down, and the way they got off, because the intelligence had to go ahead of the front line, was that to go across a live minefield. Now, normally when you went across a line minefield, you get your bayonet out and you would tap down waiting for... But they couldn't do it because the bombardment was so much. They had to run across it and lay the tapes out for the following troops to get across this minefield.
Oh, you can't even imagine it, can you?
And he said...
Well, that's right. Can't even imagine it.
But they didn't know at the time was only 1 in 6 mines were live because the RAF had bombed strapped the trains that carried the detonators. And my dad reckons he may have travelled one, but it was a dud.
Wow.
So that's it.
I mean, I've heard all sorts of stories. I mean, all sorts of stories talking about mines, and this is a bit of a sidetrack, but one of the books I've got here, in actual fact, I think it's this one here by a guy called John Stieber, and it's called Against the Odds. Survival on the Russian front, and he was actually
Poor sod.
He was born in Ireland. His dad worked
Mm.
in worked with sugar factories, helped design sugar
Mhm.
factories, and before war broke out, he was sent back over to Germany for education, and then he was stuck there. And he was talking about one of the guys who they were giving them mine training and how to set the pressure for whether it was a human walking on it or whether it was a vehicle going over it or whether it was a tank. And apparently, it wasn't his platoon, but it was his friend's platoon. This guy came out and gave the demonstration, and he set it for as if a tank was going to go over the top of it, and said, "Look, if you walk over the top of it, you can jump up and down on it. Look." And he jumped up and down on it, and the thing went off. So he obviously hadn't set it right.
What, blown to
So
bits?
yeah, it was just blown to bits. Yeah. God, crikey, yeah. Mine warfare is such a dreadful thing as well, isn't it?
It's all absolutely horrendous. But there's one thing I always mention when I'm talking about my dad. So sometimes I get a little bit choked, and that is I've got a soft spot. I'm probably going to get banned now for Palestine, because if it wasn't for Palestine, I wouldn't be here talking to you now. And people, I've lost you
go on.
now.
No,
Well,
no.
what it was
you haven't
during
lost
the
me. I remember you saying about this before.
during the siege of Malta, my dad had to survive on 6 dog biscuits a day. That's all they had. They were starving to death. A lot of his friends died of malnutrition, and a ship managed to run the gauntlet loaded with Palestinian chocolate, and that kept my dad going. And that's why I've always had this soft spot for Palestine, because it saved my dad's life.
Yeah.
So, and I tried to buy some dates because I try and help. I'm not being political. To me, they're poor souls. And what people don't realise is that 59% of Palestinians are Christians, but what remains there is about 1% to 2%, so they say, or up to 3%, because the 59% have moved out of Palestine and not there anymore.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that getting the proper dates from there is a certain country which we're not allowed to criticise seems to be running the opposition. Because I looked into adverts for these dates, and they're rubbing in Ramadan and all kinds of strange things. And this advert, I thought, hang on a minute, this is not quite right, this advert. So I do think it's controlled opposition. So you've got to be careful where you buy the dates from. And I don't think these dates are from Palestine. Or they might be from Palestine, but there's a controlled opposition running it. So be very, very careful.
Yeah, it's look. I mean, it's the old adage, isn't it? You know, if you want to open a, well, let's make it Cornish. Seeing as I am the ambassador for Cornwall, the Fock and Ball ambassador for Cornwall. If you want to make money out of a pasty shop, what you do is you open another pasty shop a few doors down and charge a different price for them and cook them slightly differently. You own both shops, but someone will go to this shop because they think, oh, the pasties are nicer here, or oh, they're better quality at this other shop. That's it's controlled up. That's how controlled opposition works.
You're spot on.
They're getting a better deal, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. But when you look at, well, let's come up to date now. Whenever people start to work out who's actually running the shop, then they have a war. And I mean, when you look at the First World War, we're told it's some bloke, Ferdinand, in Sarajevo that got assassinated, and that sparked a kind of, sorry, he was assassinated by a Serb, wasn't he? I think
he was. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I got that arse up
there
our
were
face. I
actually
think
3 assassination attempts that day. So whoever was in charge, 3, yeah. So whoever was running that operation wanted to make damn sure that it happened. That's all I'm going to say.
Now that's right, and also I think the assassin they wasn't meant to go down that road. He was on the wrong road or something, and the
right.
driver went down the wrong road, and it added it to the assassin on a plate, didn't he? Really, I mean, there it was. But
Well, that was the thing, because the first assassin, I think, tried to throw a bomb in the car, and it bounced off. And I believe Ferdinand and his wife actually went to visit the victims of the first assassination attempt in the hospital, and they were killed actually after visiting the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, we're told that's what sparked a series of events like domino effect. But the real reason for the First World War, and most of the veterans of the First World War, German and, well, I don't know about German, but the British didn't really quite know what they were fighting for, really. And all it was this, what they call black propaganda, sort of, what was it, Belgian babies on the end of bayonets, German bayonets. And
cutting off Red Cross nurses' hands. That was another one.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yeah, all the nasty black propaganda, as they call it. But do you know what it was? Do you know what the First World War was really about? What it was really about was Germany building a railway line across Turkey to feed German industry with oil, because oil was going to come via railway, because Germany has very few naval ports, and they knew that the British Navy, that was huge, it dwarfed even the American Navy in those days, and the British Empire, and they were too big a threat to the British Empire, and that's why any excuse, this country declared war on Germany.
So what you do is you create a situation somewhere, maybe Sarajevo, if that's where you feel like doing it, which creates a domino effect in political excuses, in actual fact,
that's right,
to manipulate or manufacture consent from the public. And that's exactly how it, I mean, why would it matter to us that an Austrian got assassinated in Sarajevo? It shouldn't. Why should Why should it make any difference? It's just a bunch of political excuses, a bunch of political dominoes that are designed to be knocked over in a certain. You remember back in the 80s, there was always that. I remember watching Record Breakers with Roy Castle, and there was
yes, Record Breakers,
yeah, and there was the domino record attempt, and they managed it on TV.
Yeah,
most dominoes to go down. But this is it's no different in organisation.
Yeah,
it really isn't. It's no different in organisation at all.
Yeah, you're spot on. And I mean, when you look at it, Second World War, they were trying to destroy that railway as well, because they didn't want Germany to become a bigger industrial nation than the British Empire. And that's it.
Of course, that's it. If anyone is familiar, I'll see if I can dig this one out for you guys as well. If anyone is, if people haven't seen it, this will be a real eye opener for you. So there's a guy called Benjamin Friedman did a speech back in 1961 at the Willard Hotel in was it Washington, I think. So let me just see if I can dig it out, and I'll put the link. So if you want to know, really,
I wonder whether I don't think it'd be politically correctly enough to I think it'd be, shall we say, I think it might set the klaxons off at YouTube HQ if we play that one. But,
I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to get you to play it because it's 2 hours.
It's a bit naughty. It's 2 hours, but he was a very brave man.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily naughty. It's very, very. I mean, the guy was present at the Treaty of Versailles. You can't really argue his viewpoint. So,
he was good friends with Eustace Mullins, wasn't he?
Yes, he was also good friends with Kennedy's father.
I didn't know that. Because I know that they used to accuse Eustace Mullins of being antiseptic, and his best friend was that chap who he converted. He was Jewish. So
that's right. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
and he actually he was a very good friend of his. Very good friend. They were real good mates. Benjamin Friedman, wasn't it? And Benjamin Friedman was a very, very brave man.
Now, okay, so he was wrong. He was wrong that the war that he was anticipating would take place and that it would trigger World War III. But listen to every single one of his other observations and his historical background. as I say, the guy was present at the Treaty of Versailles. You can't really argue with that standpoint. He was part of a very specific delegation at the Treaty of Versailles to help argue the validity of the Balfour Declaration, so that certain people could have a home in Palestine.
Or as he called it, Palestine, didn't he? He actually Palestine. But Ezra Pound. That's quite right, DJB. Eustace Mullins had ties with to Ezra Pound. Yes,
Yeah.
Ezra Pound asked. Yes.
I don't know.
Sorry, mate.
I don't know whether that's a well-known thing. Ezra Pound also knew T.S. Eliot, who's a very famous writer over here.
I didn't know that, but I know that Ezra Pound stayed in Italy during the war, didn't he?
Yes,
he was.
He used to do radio broadcasts for the Juice or the Duce, depending on how you pronounce it. But there's actually if you look up, anyone can go and do this right now if they're bothered at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just put in letter from T.S. Eliot. Ezra Pound to T.S. Eliot, and you'll find my granddad's name mentioned in there also.
Really?
Yeah.
Good old granddad. Yeah. Yes. What character? But let's put it this way. Let's hope there's an afterlife, and you can actually. And now.
Oh crikey! I owe him a few beers. I do. I owe him.
Well, I'll tell you something.
He owes me a few as well, to be fair. So I guess
I was talking to someone about, and I don't like meddling in things I don't understand, because Tesla made a machine which anybody can make from sort of household objects and whatever, and a bit of scurrying around on eBay, I suppose, where he believed he could speak to the dead. I don't know if you heard that. As a machine, because there was a big race on, I think, in the 1920s between Tesla and his arch rival on making this machine where you could speak to the dead. And you can hear these sort of noises and all things like that. And someone suggested that I put this on a live show. No, I'm not going to make one, because I think you don't know what you're going to invite in. So,
I think you're absolutely right. We've all seen Evil Dead. Come on. Well,
that's right.
That's the thing at the beginning of Evil Dead, isn't it? Where they go to the forest in the woods and they play back her uncle's recordings of translating the Book of the Dead, and they wake something up simply by playing the recording. Yeah, you don't want to go there. It's like messing around with Ouija boards, isn't it? You really don't want to mess around with it.
It is. But funny, back to the Middle East, I had a girlfriend whose father was in the. Now let's remember this. If I remember this right, I think he was in the Navy, just at the end of the war. And they docked in Palestine or somewhere like that. And he went into the desert with his mates and that. And he said the Bedouin were really nice people. They really were hospitable people. And he said he saw something that he'd never seen in his life. And this was his words. He said they had this, I don't know what it was, would say festival or some thing going on, and he saw a couple dancing, and they metamorphosized into two dogs or something, and then they metamorphosized back into humans. And he said he hadn't been drinking. All his mates saw it as well, and they all went. They was all shocked. He said, "You won't believe me, but that's what I saw." And so, if anybody knows anything more about what I've just said, I'll be most grateful. So that's what he said. And he actually he had quite a life, father. I think it was not something happened. He was knocked over or something, and he woke up and he was actually on a slab in a mortuary. They thought he'd died. Wow. Yeah, and some of the things that happened to him was absolutely incredible. You name it, it happened to him. But it's people who were born in the 1920s and 1900s, they had quite incredible lives, didn't they? When you think about it.
And you think everyone's just sucked in by technology now. That brings us around to another bugbear of mine at the moment. So obviously, I mean, if Shelley's listening, she's going to be shouting "mobile phone" at the blooming at the computer. But Mobile phones, yeah, big bugbear of mine, because as I've said before on your show, I think this is one of the largest things that is really destroying communities and
I
destroying.
agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Artificial intelligence, folks. What are your thoughts on AI, Eric?
It's a double-edged sword. It's like everything. If the evil get over it, a hold of it, which they are, they're going to turn it against us. If the good get hold of it and use it for good, it could be absolutely incredible. And I think we've got to deal with the evil to stop them dealing with it, because they will turn it to evil. Think about it.
Yes.
Aeroplanes, what a marvelous invention. An aeroplane, the Wright brothers. They could
Yeah.
fly. What did they do? First aeroplanes were used for military use.
Yeah,
It
of
was a
course.
military thing. And it reminds me of the gag. And apparently this happened in the Windmill Theatre. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, because, the Windmill Theatre had nudie ladies. And they hadn't moved. They shouldn't move. That was the thing. They had to stay still. And there was a comedians that came on, and apparently there was a bombing raid whilst they were performing. One of the comedians shouted out, "It's those bloody Wright brothers again." Whilst there's a bombing raid. It's those bloody Wright brothers, I blame it on them. And everybody roared. But
No, but you're right. You're right. I mean, my biggest thing at the moment is that really, it's as you say, it's whether it's being used for good or evil. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you could argue. There's nothing wrong with mobile phone technology. It's essentially what it's being used for.
It saves lives. You think you could save a life if someone's injured, but
absolutely.
You see,
sorry, go on. Carry on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut across it, but think as if AI is used for good, it could do all the shit jobs that humans do that we don't need to do. For example, and they say it's going to create unemployment. I disagree. If we handle it right, the AI can do like cleaning out sewers and changing soil bed sheets with the sick and things like that. And it could do it with a smile on its face, and helpful. It could help the lonely people to sit with them and listen to them and know what that could be marvelous. And above all, it would release us to make the environment and have guilds where we have craftsmen, not AI, craftsmen building beautiful cathedrals, beautiful houses, beautifying the country. That'd be more than enough work. Not pushing a broom or flipping burgers in a burger bar. No, using people's skills to create beauty. Gardeners like yourself, making beautiful gardens everywhere and fantastic things. Now, it might sound as if I'm in cloud cuckoo land. That's what we should aim towards, not an extra arm to the evil ones in power, demonic politicians who will use it to screw even more money out of us to fuel the usury scam.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
my
with
piece.
you. So my biggest thing at the moment really is things like AI music, AI journalism.
Oh, perhaps, yes.
As you say, all this stuff. If it was being used for good, great. But the problem you've got. I mean, I was having this chat with Shelley on our show on Wednesday, and she was one comment that she'd made in a previous conversation. Is we might get left behind if we don't jump on board with it. We might get left behind. And my biggest problem is that in actual fact, it's the human element that's going to left behind if we run with this. It's rather like we're following man's laws at the moment. Where has that got us?
I agree.
There is enough in this world. This world is so prodigal of giving. There is enough for everyone. There is abundance for everyone in this world. The only reason we don't have that is man's laws and manufactured shortage. So going to the sort of music side of things as well, one of my friends, we had him on the show a few months back, and he'd brought some music with him that his band had created in the studio, and they'd used AI to finish off. Had this nice female voice singing over the top. Sounded a little bit like Taylor Swift.
Mm.
You know, and Shelley asked him, she said, so who's doing the singing? And my friend Ryan, he said, actually, none of us are native English speakers, so it's a machine.
Oh my God.
And it just takes away the human element of it. And obviously, this particular AI device had probably trained itself by listening to things like Taylor Swift. Hence, it sounded fairly similar. But then it makes you think, is most of her music AI'd as well? You know, most of this, as he refers to it, AI slop that is being poured out everywhere now. And everyone thinks, oh, yeah, isn't it fantastic? No, it's not. We're losing.
That's right. It's like
elements.
colorized films of the First World War. And I've noticed that there was a film the other day I was seeing of German POWs in Berlin right at the end of the war that had surrendered. And something stuck out like a bloody sore thumb. You see all these poor sods going along, and one had been added. And you could see the uniform wasn't quite right. He's a little bit too clean. He had a long beard. And I'd seen that film loads of times. I'd never seen that character in there, and that had been added by AI. So they're adding things in, and also you could have proof that you've done, I don't know, committed a crime, and it's all been AI added. Oh, look, there you are on the film. You weren't there. If they want to frame you for anything. And the other thing is that
Shelley went to the cinema with her boyfriend the other day, and they watched a film regarding about being taken to a court of law, and the jury was AI. Yeah, how far off that are we, do you think?
Not very far at all. And I think that the big problem is it's going to create. It needs money to create this AI, and those who are providing the money, let's put the old saying, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
Oh, absolutely. And this is another thing that my German friend brought up, you know, when we had him on the show about his music. He said, we're supposed to be living in this green world where we've all got to mind our carbon footprint and blah, 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 blah. And they're building these huge AI centers, which take huge amounts of energy and electricity and power, just so someone can put a seal on a skateboard. You know, it's got ridiculous.
Well, I think that what's happened, and this is probably, I'm shooting off in another area, another tangent. I think that mental illness has taken over. And why has mental illness taken over? Because you look at a food of, say, 100 plus years ago. You go, say, a little bit. Let's have a village, shall we? An imaginary village. You'd have had a butcher's shop that sold meat the cattle were grass fed, and they were slaughtered locally. They'd sell seasonal vegetables grown locally. No carbohydrates as such. Very few carbohydrates. Now, you go into that village today and you'll have a supermarket there. And when you walk through the door, 90% of what's in that shop will be carbohydrates. Plus, when a child is born now, they're actually loaded up with jabbies. Now, our stomach is our second brain. That must go somewhere. And this is why we've got these cranks that identify as being a bleeding dog or something, or cat. And you've got these complete nutters that are swanning about, that are calling the tune. And
we also touched on this. We also touched on this recently on the show because, you know, they've just we had this big rally a few weeks back in Truro against digital ID. We had all sorts of people show up for it. Piers Corbyn was there. We had Debbie Hicks there. We had an amazing speaker there called Shelley Tasker as well. She did a really good job.
Shelley, that name rings a bell.
It does. Yeah, I do stumble across her sort of once a week, I guess. Yeah, I tune into her show, or I'm part.
It's a good show, that is. Yes.
But the government did a U-turn the week after, and we were laughing, saying, "Oh, it must have been our protest in
Mm.
Truro, our
No,
rally."
they didn't. No,
They
they
didn't.
didn't.
And what
No,
have they done? What have they
nothing.
done? Oh, we won't make it mandatory. No, but we're going to make it so that you have to have one.
Mm.
So the example I brought up, and it was actually something that was yeah, sort of what's the word, reiterated by a guy you've had on the show before, Mr. Von Kurt, Al Von Kurt.
And he's invited to come back onto the show. He's more than welcome, Mr. Von Kurt. So,
Well, so
there we go.
his kids play a little game called Roblox, which is kind of like, oh, it's just an online game. Now you have to be 16 in order to be part of social media. So all these kids, they can play the game, but they can't chat on the game. Right. So you got all these little Roblox avatars wandering around holding up placards saying, "Bring back the chat." Right. What does that entail? That basically entails the fact that parents have ceded control of their own children to the government.
And that's communism.
And those children are not going to be able to use any kind of chat on any of these games or any of the social media. And don't get me wrong, social media does a host of injury to the youth. It does. Yeah. No messing. I'm not. I don't do social media myself because I just think it's it's just as insidious as mobile phones, and it's one of the things that actually keeps people on mobile phones, which is why I flipping hate it. But the fact of the matter is, these kids now aren't going to be able to use the chat until they can prove they're 16. How are they going to prove they're 16? Legitimately, they're going to be looking into getting a digital ID card so that they can prove they're good little citizens for the government. But as I say, it should be down to the parents as to whether they think their child is.
That's right.
Have they brought up their child responsibly enough for their child to be responsible enough to use social media? It's nothing to do with the government. Absolutely nothing to do with the government at all. So what, by saying, oh yeah, this law's a good thing because, it does a lot of damage to children, you are just ceding the rights of your parenting to the government. And this you're saying about mental illness, and kids thinking they're cats and stuff, with things like the Mermaid Foundations being allowed into primary schools, saying that it doesn't matter if you think you're a boy when you're really a girl, or you think you're a girl when you're really a boy. This is fanning the flames of mental illness. I'm sorry. I don't care what people say. I don't care if I offend anyone. It's fanning the flames of mental illness. And this is, for want of a better word, Eric, and excuse me if I am slightly crass on your show, but this is pussified parents not being able to take responsibility for their own children.
Spot right on. Mind you, Pink Planet said the children can still chat. They just use their parents' driving license. But the thing, you're right. But the trouble is, you see, this is the thing. This is why I don't believe in government, because there are examples in history where government haven't been around and people have prospered because governments make people irresponsible.
Was it
be much more responsible in Poland? Yes, that was after communism. The wall came down for 2 years. Businesses, they reckon it's the best time to be alive. Look at other examples. Look at the Boer War, the Boers. They didn't have a command structure as such in their army. And what did they do? The British army couldn't beat them. And they had to have a burnt earth policy.
Scorched earth policy. That's
Scorched
right.
earth, yes.
Yeah,
and
a lovely, wonderful, but I'll dig it out for the audience in a sec.
Yeah.
Carry on talking. I've got a lovely book called The 3 Years' War by a guy called, he was Commander DeWitt, and it gives you a wonderful insight.
Oh, very interesting.
So I'll dig that. You carry on talking. I'll dig that out.
And also the Amish. Now, all right, it's the elders. So I've heard from Patrick that which it should be in his society. You look at these tribal societies, it's the elders that say things. And I had a girlfriend who was an anthropologist. studied anthropology, and apparently tribes that had a hierarchical structure were the most violent, and tribes that didn't have a hierarchy structure but were run more by the elders were more peaceful.
Wow. Yeah, it
Now,
doesn't surprise me.
we don't respect the elders. Now, the thing is that, for example, we say about the NHS, it's not fit for purpose. And if you or I could go somewhere in the third world, buy some qualifications, and come back as a brain surgeon if you want. I don't know. It depends on how much you want to pay. We come back as a doctor, and you could practice in the NHS and probably get away with it because they look after their own. And provided you didn't make any big mistakes, you'd be probably all right. Now, the old days. Now, my parents, they they thought the NHS was fantastic until they tried to use it. And apparently, I think that what's happened is that I like the idea that they've got in some other countries, like I was saying last night, where a simple idea is like in a coffee place. Someone goes in to buy a cup of coffee, they say it's £3. They say, right, I'll pay £6 and put £3 on the board. And then someone that can't afford a cup of coffee goes in, gets the £3 token, puts it over to the cashier, no questions asked, they get a cup of coffee. Now, that can happen with health. And I think with natural health, if it's mass produced, it's cheap. And they could, and we need a natural national health service. And that's what is really necessary. That's what we need.
Well, I got sent, because there's a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a friend of mine who's recently had heart surgery. It's turned out that the NHS have damaged his heart in giving him a stent. And yeah, I'm absolutely gutted for him. And he sent me an article through this morning. Do you know we're ranked in the lowest 3 in the world for medical care? How on earth did that happen? Could it be something to do with the fact that it's completely underfunded, completely oversourced when it comes to the fact that, the NHS pays something like £4 or £5.50 for a packet of paracetamol that I can pay 28p for in the shops, and the fact that we've now, because they don't want to pay anyone any money, because it's all being creamed off of the top, we've now got all these workers from around the world that maybe don't have as high a standards as we have. And
also, they're starving the third world of the doctors and nurses that they need. That is racialist. That is racial. How dare we starve poor sods in the third world of the doctors and nurses that they need? Why? Because it's cheaper. That's the reason why. But let's go back a little bit to 1943, when the NHS was being planned by a chap called William Beveridge.
Oh, go on.
William Beveridge, you see, was a quietly spoken liberal, apparently, and second in command of the Eugenics Society.
Oh, was he really?
And do you know who was first in command of the Eugenics Society?
No, go on.
Winston Churchill. And then we come to 1948, when the NHS was set up. And when it started, rather, because they started planning it in 1943 and it came out in 1948. And what did they do? They destroyed all natural medicine and welcomed in Rockefeller, oil-based, unproven medicine.
That's right.
And then it went downhill from there on, and they actually took out systematically files, and destroyed them of cheap, natural, proven remedies, and then set up a PR. Now, I do not know whether Sefton Delman was involved or not. I don't know. I don't think he might have been. I don't know, okay, so I won't go into that. With propaganda that made natural medicine look like voodoo, witchcraft, silly sod stuff. And this new fantastic oil-based medicine, absolutely the creme de la creme, the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And then they noticed that people started to get fitter. And then in the middle 50s, it started to go down and down
Well,
and down and down and down. Why? Because they don't look at they only treat the symptoms, not the cause.
that's exactly right. So I'm not a huge fan of James Corbett from the Corbett Report, but he has done some good stuff. And one of the things, if you go to the Corbett Report, I think it's .com, and he's got 2.5-hour documentaries there. One is called How Big Oil Conquered the World.
Correct.
And the other one is called Why Big Oil Conquered the World.
Rockefeller.
Yeah, Rockefeller. He talks about the eugenic societies. And I have to say, actually, probably some of James Corbett's best work.
He's very. I actually like James Corbett. He goes into it very,
find
very
him a bit
detailed.
nasally and whiny. I'm sorry, I just do.
Sometimes people go into a bit too much depth, and I mean, for example, I find it difficult to sit through a lecture. If someone is lecturing, I get a bit twitchy. I don't know why. I mean, I that's why I like YouTube. I can sort of switch it off, have a cup of tea, and switch it back on again, or go and have a wee and come back again. And so I have a scratch and look out the window. That's it. I've got a kind of, I don't know, that sort of brain that's always designing stuff and going at full pelt. But really,
so just very quickly, just going back to the whole Boer War thing and how clever the Boers were about outwitting the British, I've just put in the chat there a link to archive.org that is Commander de Wet's book, and it is honestly, it's so worth a read. And there's some really funny anecdotes in there as well.
Really,
I can't mention them, or there's one that I definitely can't mention on air. Because it might upset the wrong people, but yeah, I'll dig it out for you in a bit.
Oh, that's well, probably when we're off air, we'll have a look at that. But that is fantastic, because I mean, also if you want to laugh, they haven't got much of it. I've actually got photocopies from the originals of the Eepes Times. From the First World War, which was an underground paper that the troops had. And it's hysterically funny. It really is funny. And they actually wrote their own complaints letters in the actual Eepes. They called it the Wipers Times. And when the authorities found out about it, they were bloody furious. They wanted, but then they realised that it was actually helping the morale, so they turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
And for example, things like, "Sir, I must complain about the." What is it? Hun Gas Company. There's a terrible leak in their pipes, I noticed whilst I was walking back to Trench 53 or something like that. All this sort of very black humour.
Tongue in cheek, yeah.
Tongue in cheek, and it was something I still laughed about now. But this is what I want to base the Thwakers Hall Times on, because there's no real satire. There's childish satire, but not real innuendo type satire anymore. And this is what I want to go back to. I mean, the Private Eye used to be satirical, but they lost it. And they lost it when Peter Cook died and that crowd. So Private Eye was good when Peter Cook was alive, but not any longer. And Spike Milligan, who wrote in a letter complaining that they haven't taken him to court, and he's a man. He's a man of modest means. And why haven't you taken me to court yet? And that type of stuff. It's just hysterically funny, But I don't find it funny now. It's gone. It's lost it, and there's no real satire around, because a lot of these magazines, I'm not mentioning names or anything like that. You look at them and they're manic depression. It's all this and you're going to do this, going to do that. We need to laugh our way out of this trench that we're in.
Oh, absolutely. Now
we've got to laugh. That is our humour. We load a joke up the breech and fire a joke. Doesn't harm anybody. And sticks and stones. We should all line up when Starmer appears and start whistling the Laurel and Hardy tune. Dun, 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 dun. Just laugh.
Absolutely. I mean, look, this is one thing that is really lacking. And look, not knocking anyone in the truth community, if that's what you want to call it, but I do find that people tend to spend an awful lot of time going, Now they're doing this to us. And have you seen what they're going to do to us next? You really, really need to take yourself away from focusing on that. It's all very well, as Paul English says, it's all very well knowing about this stuff. But if you're not going to work on a way forward, then all you're doing is, to quote Bill Hicks, you're like a man with a sore tooth. It hurts, but you can't leave it alone. And it's not helping anything. It's not helping
and like attracts like, because negative attract. And this, look, in any book on subversion, that's what they do. Like attracts like, negative attracts negative, positive attracts.
Yeah.
You know, so really, we got to say, oh, the government is imposing, I don't know, a tax on farmers. Are they really? Let them try. They can shove it where the sun doesn't shine. And if they send 40 of their heavy mob in, we'll send 150 of our polite, nice people to tell them to politely go and get stuffed. And that's it. But no violence. Go away, chaps. You know, and this is why I think that we should bring back a kind of gentlemanly behaviour. Like we got these peace officers that go in, very polite, because the thing is, all these demonic psychopaths in power know is violence and aggression and threats. And we want to show that we can do it without any. We play the game our way, not their way. And it's like a game of chess.
Well,
master the centre of the board, and you play the game that's what a grandmaster told me. You play the game your way, not the opponent's way. Sorry, he's going to say manifest.
Yeah, no, what I've said for a long time. Look, we are engaged in what a lot of people would call a spiritual war, and whether you're a spiritual person, think you are or not, the enemy certainly see this as a spiritual war. And I would say that by and large, it's the aggressor that tries to choose the rules of engagement or dictate the rules of engagement. But if you don't, this is why guerrilla warfare works against standard military practice, or used to work against standard military practice, because it's a decentralized way of fighting. This is why the Vietnamese were so successful.
That's right. They couldn't win. The Americans couldn't win.
They could not win because the Vietnamese employed a guerrilla tactic. So they did not engage in the war, in the rules of engagement set out by the enemy. And I think this is exactly the way we, as people who are always searching for the truth, and you're never going to find it all, folks. You're not. Your life ain't long enough. You just have to be satisfied with what you found out so far and will be shown in the future, and work with what you've got. But I'm with Eric, definitely. You need to maintain that sense of humor, that light-hearted sense about it. You've got to find your peace with it. Otherwise, it's just going to eat you up. So I don't subscribe now. And I've spent years banging my head against a brick wall, trying to wake people up. And saying, don't you realize they're doing this? And don't you realize they're doing this? And no one wants to hear it. Of course they don't. Hang on. I was enjoying life before you came in the room. Piss off.
Well, that's it. But you see, the thing is, there are different approaches. And I think that counter-subversion, they don't like it up and use what they use against us back. Now, for example, what they do in Turkey, and we can learn, because let's face it, I think folks around the world, I respect anybody from any country. I respect people's religions. I like people. Good, honest, decent folk. That's who I like. I can't stand these assholes who are in power, because that's all they are. To me, I can't stomach them. Now, what they do in Turkey, they stand outside the government house. They have a silent protest. They just stand there. Police can't arrest them. No, there's no violence. And then when they've been there for about an hour, somebody else takes their place. And they just hold placards up. But they don't march around saying anything. They don't say a word. It's silent. Now, that's one way. One I did see was when there's all these people during the lockdown, there was 2 queues of people lining up to have their and there was just one man with a sickle with a scythe,
Yeah.
And part of that scythe was a giant syringe, and he
Oh,
was
okay.
dressed
Very clever.
as one of the men of the was it death sort of,
Yeah, he's
covered.
dressed like a druid. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was walking along slowly, stopping, then walking around and looking bloody creepy.
Yeah.
And people are sort of looking around. But one of the best ones, I think they did it in New York. There's all these people dressed like zombies, and there's a chap over a loudspeaker said, "This is a public announcement. Do as you are told. Keep distance away." And the people are going along like this. Keep your distance from other people. Stay away. And saying what the government says, but like a zombie.
Yeah.
Counter subversion.
Absolutely.
And there's all these people going along the road like this, going, do not think, believe what we tell you. Bloody brilliant. This is what we need.
Pink Planet has made a great comment in the chat there.
Let's have a quick look.
We need to be game changers. Yes, we do.
Where are
it's
we?
all very well having all this information. What are you going to do with it? Because half the people don't want to hear it anyway. It's vitally important that we actually you take some of this back. Start trying to own some of it rather than concentrate on what they're doing to you or attempting to do to you.
That's right. And I like what they're doing in Ireland, Southern Ireland. Any MP that walks into a shop, they refuse to serve them. Get out. Don't want you to there. Piss off.
Yeah.
So MPs can't actually go shopping because they're not served. They don't want to know them. Get lost.
That's all right. I'm sure the major supermarkets will still take them in and they're welcome.
That's it. But you see, the thing is that when you think about it, what type of person, now I'm sure there might be someone somewhere, wants to be an MP. Really? Telling people what to do.
Now, I actually, I know an MP.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know him anymore. Well, I say I don't know him anymore. We don't associate with each other anymore. We haven't since we were kids. And I'm not going to give any names, but he might be the Conservative councillor in a local area near me. And I have to say, right, not only was he a mummy's boy when he was a kid, one of these, he was
effeminate.
He invited bullying through, and don't get me wrong, I never bullied him ever. I actually found him to be a lovely guy, just a bit misunderstood and a bit scared of the world. Does take that sort of person, doesn't it?
Oh, there's a certain breed of person, and was it Evelyn Waugh, one of them? Not sure if it was him. He said he became a journalist, a political journalist, and he said the first thing he realised that there was something mentally wrong with all the MPs. And I was, I found this from two different subjects. Now, I used to work, I was a freelance bloke, or what they call, what is it? Bleeding subby was one word, or architectural mercenary. You'd take any job, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd architectural mercenary, but I suppose they're only envious. I used to say to them, we can be insulting and I cry all the way to the bank. Anyway, I worked on this project, and there was a secretary there, woman secretary. She was in her mid-50s, I would say, late 50s, and she was the image of what's that name? Germaine Greer. Absolute spitting image, and she used to have people coming up to her asking for autograph because she looked so much like Germaine Greer.
My word!
And she was an absolute. But you'd swear it's Germaine Greer. And the senior architect there, he was a permo. We called them permos. That was the permanent people. He wanted to be he was going to be an MP or something, the Conservative MP. And he came out and did a tantrum. I want this. No. And she turned around and she said, go back into your office, calm down and come out when you're calm, okay? And she actually spoke to him like a mother, like a nanny. Anyway, one lunch hour, I didn't go down the pub. I wasn't a boozer. I was sitting in the office. And she was typing something out, and she said, "Oh, Chris," she said, I'm not quite sure about this architectural term. Can you come and help?" I said, "Yeah, okay." So I went over to her and got talking, and I sorted it out for her. And I said, "I noticed that you boss the boss around." She said, "Yes." She said, "He misses his nanny. I'm his nanny." And then we got into a deeper conversation. And she
He
and
misses his nanny. What a brilliant way of putting it. But
yeah,
what a brilliant way of putting it. Apply
he
that
does.
to what we've just said about dealing with these so-called idiots who want to tell us what they're going to do to us. Yeah.
Do you know what her job was beforehand? She was a civil servant and worked in the House of Commons as a secretary. And that's where she got her training. And she said, "I treated them all like I was nanny." And she said, "You would be shocked at how childish they are." She said, "If you booked a hotel and the opposition party thought that the other opposition party, their hotel was better than their hotel, they'd throw a tantrum." And he said they were children. And she said most of them were drunk most of the day because the booze is so cheap and the food is so cheap. So they think because they're away.
Well, they're all following their role model.
That's right. Obviously. They say, "What's wrong? Why should there be poor? Food is cheap." Why? Because it's subsidised in their canteen. But that's what I got from her. So I learned. One night I was listening to late night radio. I don't do that any longer. And an elderly woman phoned in. And she was a secretary in the House of Commons, and she said exactly the same as Germaine Greer lookalike said. That sums it. Yeah.
Wow.
And she said, if people knew, they wouldn't vote. She said, if people knew what I've been through, she said, they wouldn't vote.
Yeah. Well, but like I say, treating them like you're their nanny, I mean, that's where we need to start. It starts with a mindset, folks, you know. As Pink Planet said, we need to be game changers, not people that are studying the game. You know, it's all very well knowing as much as you do about the game, but you need to be game changers. And starting with the mindset that you're their nanny and you're above them is a perfect mindset. It's a perfect place to start, at least. Because let's face it, you are the likes of the people that are listening to your show, Eric, the likes of the people that listen to the Shelley Tasker show and Paul English and all across Radio Soapbox, across Food for Thought Radio, and a host of other stations that I've been invited onto. The audience are far more clued up than most of the general public. I would say probably 90% of them. And it's the other 10%. Say we make up the 1%, the other 9%. They know about it, but they either don't know where to go with it or they're too scared to speak out.
Well, they've been conditioned to believe that they should have. You see, the thing is, from school, we are conditioned that we need a leader. And it's the following the wolf pack mentality, like the Japanese army, you know, like the pyramid structure where the top man kicks the other bloke's bum and the one down below him kicks the other one's bum and it just goes down the line. Now, the thing is, at school, we're all put into forms, we're all part of a team, but there are individualists in this world. And I was an individualist at school, so I was a square peg. Yeah, I didn't go too much on sport. I looked sporty, but I come from a non-sporty family. Anything like Match of the Day came on, we just switched off and nobody's interested. So to this day, I still do not know how to kick a ball. Seriously, so if a kid kicks a ball at me, I find it difficult to kick back because it's something that doesn't interest me. I used to play badminton. I got to poor average, basically, because I just haven't got the inclination there. Yeah. Now, I was bullied at sports at school. There's lots of I've got mates that love sports. No problem. Now, put some tools in my hands and say, go and make something. Bloody hell, I'll be in my element. I'll make anything they want. Yeah. Because I've got that sort of brain. Now, the thing is that I think there should be only one law, and that is injury, loss, or harm. You must not cause injury, loss, or harm. We abide by that. I do not believe in driving licenses, driving tests. I do not believe in any tests like that. I believe we should go back to the Victorian times. So if you wanted to be a doctor, an actual doctor, you went through like an apprenticeship. And if you were crap, you'd be found out pretty quick. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
And also, what they did in China was that you paid the doctor when you were well, and when you were unwell, you didn't pay him. And
Right.
he was treated with great respect and reverence. And anyone that couldn't pay, the rich would make sure that everything's okay, because it was a conscience type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that thing
And
with the
that's-
coffee, and you didn't know who had actually given the money, but the money was there.
Yeah, well, this is why I've said for a long time that everything should be based really in parishes, in local communities, because everyone would look out for each other, because it was in your own best interests to do so. As soon as
That's
you
right.
start ceding these responsibilities like parenting to the government, you know, the government, who aren't meant to govern at all.
That's
They
right.
were never meant to govern. As soon as you start ceding these responsibilities outside your local parish and community is going to suffer. So that's where it really needs to start. I've literally only got till 10 o'clock tonight, Eric, I'm afraid. But
Okay.
one thing I will say is that during the COVID times, everyone was a bit worried that you might get these mandatory vaccinations. Yeah. And people were worried, particularly in the truth community. They were worried that they might actually turn up on your doorstep and force it upon you. Now, what is the one thing that would have stopped anyone from doing that? It's knowing your next door neighbors. It's being friendly with, or not even, you don't even have to like them, but being civil at least, and forging that community. Because I tell you what, and I've said it loads of times on air, there's a young family lived next door to me with 3 very young children. They were very young at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, when I was on Andy's show, I said, look, if anyone turns up on that doorstep expecting to do anything to, not just the children, but the parents, but particularly the children who are completely defenseless, you need the local community to rally around these people,
That's right.
whoever
Minutemen.
they are, and very, very unpolitely tell them to sling their hook. Otherwise, it might not be worth them.
Spot on.
Yeah. So
absolutely spot on. That's what we need.
So that is what we need. And this is what I think, that's one thing I've really got to portray to the audience, is just ditch your mobile phones and start talking to your neighbors, because they're actually there and real. And you know what? If you fall over in your house and break your leg, yeah, all right, your mobile phone might be handy, but if you can shout to your neighbors, they're going to be there a hell of a lot quicker.
That's right. And I agree with you there. And I think also with that type of community, see, for example, why do you need rates? It's not rates, council tax for, when you could get together and have someone empty a bin for you. And if they don't empty a bin, you find someone that can empty a bin, someone that could sweep around. This is where AI comes in. That we could have AI road sweepers doing just crappy jobs that humans shouldn't really need to do. And the fact
Not
of the
by
matter,
now. We shouldn't need to be doing that by now.
no, that's right. We shouldn't need to do it, and those type of things. And also, as I say, if someone is not very well, they're a bit frail, maybe that cleans the sheets, cleans up any mess, and helps them walk down the road. Assistant. That's what it needs. But the thing is that there's the human touch. Like, for example, I look at Shelley's. She's on Facebook and she takes some incredible. She's a photographer and takes incredible photographs.
Yeah, she's very talented.
AI can't do that. AI could probably try, but it's a human brain and it's her eye that can see something that AI that can't see certain things. And there was a royal photographer. I can't remember his name now. He died, but he was a bloody good photographer. And on the days of roll film, when we had roll film, we always used to say, always have one shot up your sleeve, use it afterwards. And he used to, and I think Snowden. I think they said that when he came and took a picture, regardless of all the scandal and that surround him, they said you'd be sitting there talking for ages to him, and you think, is he going to take any pictures? And all of a sudden, he go, okay, hold it there, click, 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 and it'd be fantastic because he'd wait to the right moment to get those photographs, and he knew AI can't do that.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
that's the thing. But I'm sorry you got to rush off. But have you got your galoshes for tomorrow? Are you? How is your
Oh,
gardening?
the gardening is going fine. I'm just longing for the weather to change. It's been wetter this winter
Mm.
time than it has been for the last 2 years. So, yeah, it's been pretty grueling. I'm not going to lie.
Doesn't dry up, does it? It's been raining. The amount of rain we've had, it's just non-stop.
Yeah, and obviously we've had like a lot of a lot of wind and stuff over the last
Mm.
month or so. So it's one of the gardens I work in has it's had about 15 tons of wood come down in the garden. So yeah, it's been
Awful.
busy times with chainsaws and bonfires and things.
Now remember, we've got Food for Thought Radio. We've got the Bowler Hat Farmer, and we're producing and there's the food hub that we have, where farmers are now selling to the local people,
Yeah,
and not supplying supermarkets. And we need more of
Food
that.
Finders Hub. That's the one.
Foodfindershub.com, and also, if the government send their thugs in to close these farmers down, we send our nice people in to tell them to sling their hook, basically.
Yeah, I could tell
We
you a
support
story
them.
about that next time I come on, Eric.
Or make it sooner, please, to come on. That would be fantastic. And Maleficus, this has been a fantastic evening. The fastest 2 hours you could wish to think of. And we covered I think modern history and First and Second World War. I guess that's your pet subject as well, isn't it?
It has been for a long time. My granddad fought on the Somme, and but I grew up playing on a Second World War derelict airbase. So, and I never once imagined
Really?
that it was. I never once imagined that it was active. So when I found out that it was, obviously, I'm also an aviation fanatic. So we can get into chemtrails next time as well.
Please do. Yes, very
blow.
interesting.
Sorry, folks, but I'm just going to burst your bubble on that one. But we'll save that till next show.
And also, are you into things like the paranormal? I want to say the paranormal, evil entities.
I've had one paranormal experience in my life that I can't explain, and I can go into that on the next show. But I'm not into that sort of thing. It's beyond it's beyond. Some things are not for us to know, and that's beyond my. I'm a very sort of tangible person, so if I can't touch it, it ain't there.
I think one of my family members became demonically possessed.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Story, yeah.
I don't doubt
unbelievable.
That's no insult to you, Eric.
No, it's okay. It's a long story. I wrote a book about it, but I never got it published because I didn't think people believe it. But it is quite something. So there we are, and I'm rewriting it at the moment. So I hope.
Wow! Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So thanks, Maleficus, for coming on. Fantastic, all the way from the island of Cornwall,
sovereign island of Cornwall,
sovereign island of Cornwall, with your piskies. What was the other thing? Knockers. Oh, we got your old knockers down there. Your old knockers. Oh. And the Cornish pasties. Now, what is it? How do you insult a Cornishman? You have the wrong. What is it? Is it beef or lamb in a Cornish pasty?
Beef skirt.
Oh, it's got to be beef. Because I think
skirt.
If
it's got to be beef skirt. It can't be anything else.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. And I was going to have a play out, but wasn't that very strange tonight when I mentioned George Formby? And he said, have you heard that one?
The Lancashire Romeo. Yeah.
And that's the one I had on.
Yeah.
Yes, the intro. And that's thanks to
synchronicity there.
And that is thanks to Patrick. Isn't that strange? That was weird synchronicity. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming on the show. Thank you, Maleficus. Thank you, everybody in chat. It's much appreciated. And please subscribe. Put the old thumbs up. If you're feeling generous, it's the old buy me a coffee down below here. And no, not me a crutch, but in the description below here. And regarding books, if you want to know more about the Second World War, my father wrote a book, My World War II, which you can find details of how to obtain it, for birthdays and things like that, down in the description below. And I believe people can obtain your grandfather's book. Am I right there?
Not at the moment. Not until the 6th edition comes out, because the printers have put the kibosh on the print at the moment. So
really,
yeah, we can get into that as I say next show, folks. thanks so much for listening. Do make sure you save the 3 links that I've put in the chat. There, it's all valuable information.
Yes. Anything? Would you anything like to promote, mate?
Just catch up if you want to catch up with any more of me.
Please do. Yes.
Catch up with the Shelley Tasker Show on Food for Thought Radio and Radio Soapbox on Wednesdays at 7 until 9 p.m. and
UK time.
UK time, and you will catch up with my excellent co-host Shelley Tasker as well.
Thank you very much for coming on, and whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.